Husband and wife team behind the wildly popular home remodeling show Fixer Upper says the show's 5th season will be its last.
Fixer Upper instantly became a smash hit when it premiered in May 2013, transforming not just homes but the entire home renovation industry.
You can see something go from chaotic and really there's no value in that into someone's dream home. I think that's one of the things that people like.
However, despite the show's immense popularity, the series finale aired on April 3, 2018, leaving many fans wondering what really happened to Joanna Gaines from Fixer Upper.
Really nerdy character that kind of hid in the background. And then you have this kind of jock. If you give Chip a boundary, he's gonna break that boundary. If you give him a rule, he's not gonna follow it. And if you tell him he can't go past this line, put his toe over it.
Her story takes some unexpected turns you probably never saw coming. I'm talking drama, big risks, family moves, and some behind-the-scenes truths that might just shock you. Stick around, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew. The rise of Magnolia and the start of Fixer Upper. The story of Chip and Joanna Gaines and how they built their business empire is one that many people find inspiring, not just because of their success, but because of the way it all started so small and so simple. It was often said that their beginnings were humble, rooted in ordinary life in Waco, Texas, and shaped by unexpected chances that gradually opened doors they never imagined would one day lead them to television screens across the country. People often wondered, wasn't it fascinating how two regular people who met in the most everyday way could go on to build something so massive? Joanna had once recalled that her path crossed with Chip's at her father's Firestone tire store. He had noticed her there after seeing her in commercials for the family business, and that was where the connection began. It was said that their bond was immediate, and after dating for just a little over a year, they were married in 2003. That same year, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, they decided to take their first leap into business together, even if it meant starting with almost nothing. With just a modest loan of $5,000, the couple opened their very first version of Magnolia Market, which they called Little Shop on Bosque, located at 3801 Bosque Boulevard in downtown Waco. Joanna later explained that it was inside that small shop that she not only worked on her design skills, but also built the confidence she desperately needed to believe in both Magnolia Market and in herself as a businesswoman. She described that place as where she sharpened her eye, experimented with styles, and grew her voice in design. But life has a way of complicating dreams, doesn't it? Yet, just when things seem to fall into place, life threw her curveballs no blueprint could prepare her for. And that's where the story takes a surprising turn. Stay with me till the very end, because what happened next will change how you see her journey. As their family grew, Joanna realized she was missing out on her children's early years. She admitted that she had lost so many firsts with her oldest son because of the store. And when she became pregnant with her second child, she knew she could not keep going in the same way. She made the tough decision to shut down the shop temporarily, choosing to stay home with her kids. During that time, Chip carried the load of their other business, Magnolia Homes. While he managed the renovation side of things, Joanna continued contributing with her design work, and together they kept building quietly, one project at a time. What happened next often sounded like something out of a movie script. In January 2012, a friend of theirs, photographer Molly Wynn, submitted photos of one of their renovated homes to a well-known blog called Design Mom. That particular project had started out as just another house flip, but when the house they were living in sold faster than expected, Chip and Joanna decided to move into the renovation instead of selling it. Those very photos ended up being the spark that changed their lives. The images caught the attention of a production company that worked with HGTV, and that moment turned out to be the beginning of their unexpected path to television. At that point, the couple had already completed more than 100 renovations around Waco, so their portfolio was already strong. Yet when HGTV first reached out, Chip did not even believe it. He reportedly thought it was some kind of scam. After all, why would a famous national network be interested in a small-town couple from Waco, Texas? But what seemed unbelievable at first soon became very real. By May 2013, the couple had finished filming the pilot of what would later become Fixer Upper. It aired on May 23rd, and the response was nothing short of overwhelming. Viewers were instantly drawn in, and the feedback was so strong that HGTV quickly ordered a full season, which premiered in April 2014. From there, things moved at a pace no one, not even Chip and Joanna themselves, could have predicted. During the very first season, nearly 2 million people tuned in each week to watch their work, which was an impressive number for a brand new show. HGTV's general manager, Allison Page, explained that Fixer Upper stood out because it immediately pulled in younger viewers. She described it as compelling television that had that rare ability to keep audiences coming back week after week. And really, wasn't that the magic of the show? People weren't just watching renovations. They were watching two people who seemed so authentic, two people who reminded everyone of what hard work, family, and creativity could look like. The numbers spoke for themselves as the seasons went on. Season 2 drew in 72% more viewers than the first, a staggering growth for a television program. One of the episodes in that season even broke records, becoming the highest-rated HGTV show in 5 years. By Season 4, their success was undeniable. The finale of that season attracted more than 5.21 million viewers, ranking as the second most watched cable telecast of the second quarter of 2017, beaten only by a giant like The Walking Dead. What did this show really give people? It gave them more than beautiful houses. It gave them a glimpse into a marriage that felt genuine, into a partnership that showed ups and downs, but always leaned into love and trust. Through the television screen, audiences began to feel like they truly knew Chip and Joanna. Analysts pointed out that their presence on social media made fans feel like friends. People didn't just tune into Joanna and Chip Gaines on television. They practically lived alongside them. Fans watched their kids take first steps on Instagram, celebrated new Magnolia store openings on Facebook, and saved Joanna's Pinterest boards as if they were personal mood boards for life. With every post and project, the Gaineses weren't just building houses. They were building a community that felt like family. So when the couple made a decision that shocked millions, everyone wanted to know the truth. Stay with us, because the real story behind why Joanna and Chip left Fixer Upper is unforgettable. Why Joanna and Chip left Fixer Upper. After 5 seasons of transforming houses into dream homes and becoming a household name, Chip and Joanna Gaines left fans in shock when they announced in 2017 that they would be stepping away from their hit HGTV show, Fixer Upper. People everywhere began asking themselves why the couple would walk away from something that seemed to be at its very peak. Was it burnout? Was it family life pulling them in another direction? Or was there something else happening behind the cameras that the audience never got to see? The answer, as it turns out, was a mix of all these things, each one playing a part in a decision that seemed unthinkable at first, but made perfect sense when viewed more closely. In their message to fans shared on Magnolia Market's website, Chip and Joanna expressed heartfelt gratitude to HGTV and the production team, but they were clear. Season 5 would be their last. Joanna would later admit in a deeply personal essay for Magnolia Journal that years of running at a non-stop pace had begun to take a toll on her. She explained that the very traits she had always relied on, like being extremely productive, efficient, and constantly operating at full speed, were starting to work against her. It was a confession that many people could relate to. After all, who hasn't reached a point where the very habits that once helped them succeed suddenly feel like a heavy burden? On top of this, their family life was changing rapidly. At the time, they had 4 children, with their 5th on the way, and their oldest was about to enter the teenage years. Chip recalled how their children would ask, with a kind of gentle honesty only kids have, if Mom and Dad really had to film again that day, and when it would finally be over. 11 months of filming every year meant there was little space left for school events, lazy weekends, or even just simple dinners together. Joanna put it simply when she said they had to make those family moments count. And really, who could blame them for realizing that no show, no matter how successful, was worth missing out on their kids growing up? But the story doesn't stop with family life alone. Behind the scenes, there were tensions brewing with HGTV's parent company, Scripps Networks. Industry insiders shared that disagreements arose because Chip and Joanna wanted to showcase products from their Magnolia Market line on the show. From a business perspective, it made perfect sense for them to want to integrate their brand into their work. But for the network, which had no official deal with Magnolia at the time, it was an issue. One source explained it bluntly. The couple kept pushing to feature Magnolia-branded products, even though Scripps wasn't in partnership with them on that. It was seen as stepping outside the rules, and it created friction. Can anyone really be surprised, though? When people pour their hearts into building something of their own, isn't it only natural they'd want it to be front and center? There was also the matter of creative control. Chip opened up to Inquirer magazine about how confining the show's format had become. He shared that producers would tell him things like, if he was hanging drywall, then Joanna needed to be standing nearby baking cupcakes, even if that wasn't what they'd normally do in their real day-to-day life. Joanna added that so much of their energy was going into meeting the requirements of the show's formula that it often conflicted with what they were actually doing in their business. Essentially, their lives were being shaped to fit the television screen rather than the other way around. And that begged the question, how long can anyone continue doing something that no longer feels like an authentic reflection of who they are? Ultimately, as Chip explained, they made a bet on themselves, something they had always believed in doing. They decided to walk away from the safety net of one of television's most successful shows in order to reclaim their vision and their lives. That gamble proved to be the right one. In 2022, they returned with something entirely their own. Magnolia Network, launched in partnership with Discovery Plus. Unlike before, this new platform gave them the freedom to create content that felt true to their values. Their vision, as they put it, was to create and curate content that inspires, encourages, and helps to build bridges across communities. It was less about playing by someone else's rules and more about creating work that mattered to them and to the people who looked up to them. So, when fans look back at their decision to step away from Fixer Upper, what at first seemed like a shocking move becomes much easier to understand. Chip and Joanna weren't just walking away from a television show, they were making space for their family, protecting their well-being, and taking control of their future. But to truly understand why those choices mattered so deeply, you've got to go back to her life after LGTV. Stay with me, because this foundation explains everything that followed. Life after HGTV. People often wondered what would become of Chip and Joanna Gaines after they stepped away from their hit HGTV series, but as it turned out, their story was far from finished. In fact, what some thought might be the end of their time in the spotlight became only the beginning of something much larger. It was said that the couple had not simply relied on their past fame to keep them relevant, but had carefully and deliberately built an entire lifestyle brand that grew into what many described as an empire. The question that kept coming up was, how did they manage to take a television career and turn it into a full-scale business world that reached into so many corners of people's lives? The answer seemed to lie in the way they constantly looked for opportunities that connected with people on a human level, whether it was through home design, food, or even a cup of coffee. Their launch of Magnolia Network was one of the boldest moves, and it showed the world that they were not afraid of taking on big challenges. In partnership with Discovery, they officially rolled out the network in January 2022, taking over what used to be the DIY network. Reports said that on its very first day, it drew in 3 million viewers, which surprised many who thought it would take time to build momentum. The shows featured on Magnolia Network included new versions of old favorites like Fixer Upper, Welcome Home, as well as cooking-inspired programs such as Magnolia Table with Joanna Gaines, and many other original shows that reflected their core idea of creating content that, in their words, feels like home. Wasn't that what people were looking for anyway? Something that reminded them of comfort, family, and belonging? But television was only part of the picture. At the same time, the couple branched out into writing and publishing, which opened yet another door. Through Magnolia Publications and a partnership with HarperCollins, they released works in several genres, appealing to readers in more ways than one. Between the two of them, they even achieved the remarkable feat of writing 8 New York Times bestsellers. People often ask themselves, how did they find the time to balance all this while still raising their children and managing so many businesses? Somehow, they did. And when it came to real estate, they did not limit themselves to small ventures either. Magnolia Realty grew into a firm that employed over 100 agents across Texas, proving that their influence in housing went far beyond flipping homes on television. They also invested in luxury rental properties in Waco, each renting out for hundreds of dollars a night, giving fans and travelers the chance to experience the Magnolia lifestyle firsthand. Perhaps one of their most visible achievements was the creation of the Magnolia Market at the Silos, which opened in 2015. What once might have been seen as just a retail space quickly became the heart of a cultural shift in Waco. In fact, it turned the city into a destination. The numbers spoke for themselves. Annual visitors grew from just over 500,000 in 2013 to more than 2 million by 2019, a transformation no one could have predicted. By 2020, they expanded the Silos even further, adding 6 boutique-style shops that each carried its own charm, including Souvenir Shop, Number 16, The Art of Entertaining, Weekend, Homebody, and The Holiday Shop. And as if that were not enough, they also built out their hospitality offerings, which now included Magnolia Press, a coffee shop that gave off the same cozy feeling their brand was known for, Magnolia Table, a restaurant where guests could enjoy Joanna's recipes, and Silos Baking Co., which quickly became a favorite stop for anyone with a sweet tooth. Wouldn't it be hard for anyone to visit Waco now and not feel pulled into their world? Their empire also stretched through strategic retail partnerships that gave them an even wider reach. In 2017, they collaborated with Target to launch Hearth and Hand with Magnolia, which brought Joanna's clean and warm aesthetic into homes across the nation at affordable prices. This allowed millions of families to have a piece of Magnolia without ever having to travel to Waco. And then, in February 2019, Joanna worked with Anthropologie on a line of rugs and pillows that blended neutral tones with bold splashes of color, appealing to people who loved a balance of classic and modern design. This raised another interesting thought. How many couples in the public eye manage to cross into so many industries while keeping their brand identity intact? Looking at all of this, many people said that Chip and Joanna Gaines had mastered the art of making their brand about more than just products or shows. What they had built was an emotional connection. Every store, every book, every show, and every cup of coffee was tied to the idea of home, warmth, and simplicity. It seemed that no matter how far they expanded, they always came back to the same question. What makes a person feel truly at home? And isn't that a question that almost everyone can relate to? For those who doubted their staying power after HGTV, the proof was now everywhere. Their name had become not just a brand, but an experience, one that people across the country and even around the world wanted to be a part of. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.